Imagine driving the bus of your life. You're the driver, you're pushing on the gas pedal. You are trying to take your life to the next level, whatever that is, whatever is your most important goal. Whether it be your health, your career, your relationships, or even your happiness. And you're trying to do everything that you can to take it to the next level. Maybe you're reading self-help books, you're hiring coaches, perhaps you're visiting psychotherapists, and you're like, I'm making some progress, but I'm not getting the results that I really, really want. So at that point, maybe you're feeling like, I got one foot on the gas pedal, and I feel like the other foot, there's like these parts of me that are on the brakes of my life. And how come I'm not getting what I want? So how many of you can relate to some area of your life where you feel like you're just stuck? Yeah, everyone has some area of their life that they're stuck. And so what if you knew how to release those brakes, the blocks? Would you be interested in learning how to do that? Great. And so that you're in the right place, because that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching you on what it is that you need to do in order to release the brakes that you have on your life so that you can push full throttle forward on the bus of your life and go somewhere really awesome. And so here's the thing that you need to know. In order for your life to change, you have to change. Not your circumstances, and not the other people around you. Because it is very easy to blame our circumstances and blame the other people for the lack of results that you have. And as many of you probably know, the only person that we can change is ourselves. And when we change, others follow. Because essentially, the energy of who you are determines your results. So if you want different results, you have to change who you are into the most extraordinary version of you. Through releasing the brakes that you've had on your life, the brakes of, that inner conflict that sometimes shows up, the negative self-talk, that endless chatter, that internal civil war that goes on in between your 2 ears. Because essentially, here's the key to success and happiness in life. And that is the law of magnetism, which is you will not attract what you want into your life. You will attract who you are. You will not attract what you want into your life. You're going to attract who you are. And so in this talk, I am going to show you how to become the best version of who you are by erasing that negative chatter that is in your head, so that you can release the brakes of your life and push full throttle forward. And I'm going to be sharing with you the most powerful modality of psychospiritual healing that there is, called internal family systems, developed by a psychotherapist by the name of Dr. Richard Schwartz. And he developed this 30 years ago because he was sick and tired of traditional psychotherapy techniques not creating the lasting transformations that his patients needed in order to heal. And so what I've done is I'm one of the few non-psychotherapists that are trained in this modality of healing, and I'm taking it beyond psychotherapy to help people to go from good to great to extraordinary. And so I'm going to illustrate to you what this model is all about through my own story. So it's 2 a.m. in the morning. It's another restless, sleepless night for me. where I had to go to the bathroom and open up the bottles of Ambien and Xanax and Zoloft and just pop more pills in order to try to get to sleep. And while I'm popping those pills, I'm wondering, why is this happening to me? Why is this awful situation of me being in this depression and these anxiety attacks happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? And so this was 10 years ago. I was in a state of depression and panic attacks that I couldn't explain why this was happening to me. Any of you ever been in a situation where you feel like you're in that dark tunnel and you're wondering, when the heck am I going to get out of this? So that was my dark tunnel. And so it was when I went to the psychiatrist who gave me the Zoloft to take the edge off. She said, you know what, I am not going to be healing you. I'm going to send you to this healer where you're going to reparent yourself. And I'm just like, what? Okay, whatever, I was desperate. And so I was in my early 40s back then. And it was a lifetime of sweeping my baggage under the rug that had caused this depressed and anxious part to come out of me, because it was basically the parts of me that were stuck in the past, still in shame and worthlessness, that were saying, when are you going to get me? Because you see, I wouldn't be here today standing in front of you, having written a book, and having all these wonderful opportunities come to me as a result of finding my soul's calling. Had I not done my own healing, of getting out of my own way, of all that negative chatter and that shame of growing up Asian. You see, I was made in Taiwan and exported at the age of 9. And when we moved to Los Angeles, life was okay. It was bearable. But it was when we moved to New York, when I was in junior high school, that the bad things really started to happen. Because we moved in the middle of 7th grade. How many of you remember being in junior high school, trying to fit in? Where do I belong? Who wants me? And so moving in the middle of 7th grade, trying to fit into a school system where I was one of the few Asians at school, where we couldn't afford the right clothes, where we had to live in a 2-bedroom, 3rd-floor walk-up apartment with no air conditioning for 6 people and 1 bathroom. The shame of just growing up poor and not knowing where I belonged was pretty painful. And we moved again. The next year, in the middle of 8th grade. I don't know what my parents were thinking, but all those parts of me that experienced, ooh, these markers are not great. Well, you have this on your handout. So this is the brain, and what I drew were these little stick figures. Okay, let's tighten that up. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I won't push down too hard. Okay, so I drew these stick figures on your handout because I want to explain. So what I had just described to you were some of those moments of shame where the kids made fun of me, called me names, chink, China girl, will you Wang Chung with me tonight? All those bullying moments where it creates these frozen parts of us. Just recall some of those moments that you've had at school where you didn't feel like you belonged. Or maybe mom and dad did not make you feel loved. Maybe they said, when you brought home the B on your report card, and they said, where the heck is the A? You're looking for them to tell you that you're good enough just the way that you are. But they don't. Or perhaps your parents divorced. And so any of those moments of emotional pain that you experienced as a child, they get locked away during those moments. You know when September 11th happened? You knew exactly where you were, right? What you were wearing, what the weather was like, who you were with. So that is no different. That is no different when, during our childhood, at school, at home, even when we were 3 months old. You may not remember what they are, what they were, but they're locked up in your brain, those original memories. So at any time that we have painful things happen to us, they get exiled into the dungeons of our psyche because we're feeling pain and shame. And so these are the young parts of us that are exiled into the back of our mind. And so in the internal family system modality of healing, these parts of us are called exiles. Exiles, when those painful moments happen, take on a belief because they're trying to make sense of what's going on in life. Why would the bullies make fun of me? I must not be good enough. I must not be worthy to be in their clique. I'm different. I'm Asian. I'm worthless. Nobody wants me. So at home, I didn't feel like I was wanted either because there was a lot of toxic fighting energy at home. They couldn't be present for the kids. I was the oldest of 4 kids. So not only did I not get the validation I needed at school, I did not get the validation I needed at home. And so these were the little girl parts of me that remembered being called those discriminatory names. These were the little girl parts of me that had been exiled into the dungeons of my psyche, feeling that I was not wanted by my parents. And in fact, when I went to the healer, we actually accessed a prenatal part of me that had already taken on the energy that I was not worthy to be born. I know it sounds weird, but this is what happens when your system feels safe enough to go back into those original memories. Because when I see the picture of my mom pregnant with me, all I can remember is she kept praying for a boy. Because my grandmother kept saying, you have to keep having kids until you produce sons for us. This is Taiwan. They're passing down the cultural legacies. And so it was me and my sister and then my 2 brothers. So in the womb, I had already absorbed my mother's energy. Please let this be a boy, please let this be a boy, because girls are not wanted, they're not worthy. And so, when our parents do, pass down those energies or they're not present with you, it's not because they do that intentionally, they're just doing what they know. And so we end up carrying these burdens. So these exiled, vulnerable parts of us are holding on to the burdens. That heavy baggage of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm different. We all have this in some shape or form. You could have had the most loving parents, but when your baby brother was born, you may have taken on the belief that I must not be lovable anymore. Why else is mommy not picking me up as much as she used to? So are these stories resonating with some of you? And what I would like to share with you now is that sometimes as I'm sharing these stories, whether it be mine or Or I'm going to share a couple of client stories later, that you may be feeling like frogs in your throat, because it's maybe triggering some painful memories for you. And if that little girl or little boy is showing up in your throat today, just let him or her know that you know that he or she is there. That you're going to learn everything you can tonight about what this is about so that you can take care of him or her. Because you may not have ever been in touch with him or her. Because perhaps in the past you've been told, forget about the past. You're not your story. Just move on. Let it go. So how many of you have heard the advice of just let it go? Just let it go. We can't let it go. Your system is not going to let it go until you go and rescue those parts of you out of the past. So the advice to say to let it go, it can only work temporarily, but if you really want to unleash the soul and the spirit of who you really are, you must do the inner work. And I'm going to show you some of the steps you could start to take tonight. Because I can only cover so much in an hour. And for those of you that want to take it further, you could read more about it in the book, in my book. And then you could find an internal family systems therapist. There's many psychotherapists that are trained in this modality in the Hartford area. You could go to the website selfleadership.org to find one of these psychotherapists. And so let me finish the rest of the story so that you can understand what this full model is about. So these burdens that we're carrying, these exiled parts of us, these are the young parts of us that are showing up, pushing down on the brakes of our life. Because every time you want to maybe get a better body, or find the cutie pie that's better than your last relationship, these are the young parts of you that have taken on the belief of, who do you think you are wanting that going up to that cutie pie at the bar? Who do you think you are wanting the promotion to vice president of this company? After all, you were that shamed little boy on the school bus that had to smell the feet of the bully. That's a real story, by the way. This is somebody who's very much a professional, and he didn't have the guts to go up to pretty women because of all these bullying experiences on the school bus. He had the best parents in the world, but these bullying experiences on the school bus caused him to believe that he's ugly, he's not good enough. When you look at him from the outside, you're like, well, yeah, of course you're handsome. But he doesn't believe it because the little boys inside of him make him stop. Every time he's trying to approach the pretty girl or date the pretty girl, he sabotages himself. So maybe perhaps for you, it's every time you try to go on a diet and lose a few pounds, you start to feel good inside or good on the outside, and then you look in the mirror, and these little girl parts or little boy parts are the ones that are staring back at you in the mirror and says, who do you think you are wanting to be a size 8? You're not supposed to get attention. You're not good enough. Forget it. So these are the parts of you that are on the brakes, holding you down. And so these are the exiles holding on to burdens. So here's what happens. When the exiles are frozen in the past, so during those moments of shame, blame, embarrassment, humiliation, rejection, whatever you want to call it, those parts of you that used to be balanced, those parts of you that used to be happy and jolly, those parts of you that used to have you eat a balanced diet, those parts of you that used to keep you on time, they end up going into an extreme role. Instead of having you be happy, they decided, you know what, we have to be sad in order to protect. Or we have to eat a lot so that we could soothe the emotional pain. Or we have to drink a lot so that we don't have to deal with our emotions. Or gamble, or work too much, or shop too much. Shopping, anybody? That's what happened to me. All those shame little girl parts that didn't feel like she was rich enough, pretty enough, good enough, especially that part of me in college. I'm standing, brushing my teeth in the green bathroom at Cornell while the rich girls that rejected me from their sorority because I wasn't good enough, I didn't wear the right clothes, they come into the bathroom with their care packages from their parents down in Greenwich, Connecticut, because they all went to the same prep school, and they're opening up their boxes of cookies and designer clothes, and here I am in a ratty t-shirt. It's like, I am so ashamed of, I'm thinking to myself, I'm so ashamed of being Asian. I just don't want these slitty eyes anymore. Why can't I be accepted into the pretty girls club? So that part of me, frozen in that dorm room, drove me to succeed. So it's that overachieving part, that perfectionistic part. Because it was the same discriminatory parts, the young parts that just kept growing up. And into college, because when she was young, when my little girl parts were young and she couldn't stand being at home, she knew that the only way out was to do well at school and get out of the house. And so that's how I overachieved and got into Cornell. So overachieving part, so it was a protective mechanism. It drove me to succeed. And it drove me, then I ended up with a job at Pfizer, which gave me a comfortable living, which meant now I had money. So I went shopping to decorate myself and to decorate my house, to show the world that, hey, I'm good enough now. I'm pretty enough now. I'm rich enough now. Look, don't I look perfect? Please accept me into the Joneses. Is this resonating with anybody? Trying to keep up with the peers? Because we all have that core human need to belong, to feel like we're loved, to feel like we're enough. So that's why we do some of the things that we do. And so I was living out of my ego. In my 20s and 30s, it was all about keeping up with the Joneses and make enough money, make sure the cars look right, whatever Madison Avenue tells us is good enough. Then into the 40s, when all of his baggage wasn't addressed, wasn't really as happy as I could have been, I got triggered by some work situation that threw me into the depression. And basically, the psychiatrist said, you want to blame this work situation, right? For getting you into the dumps? It has nothing to do with the situation. And I'm like, what? It's that guy's fault. He made me miserable like this. Does anyone ever wanted to blame other people? Yeah. She's like, no. I mean, he might be a jerk, but that incident is reminding you of something. Someone in your past. And sure enough, it was reminding me of the way my father was treating my mother. And I was just replaying that whole toxic dynamic with this person. Because that was one of my most painful memories of childhood. Watching the parents not get along. Some of you may have had those experiences. So again, that was a part of me frozen in I must not be good enough. Why else would the parents be fighting? So essentially, I was made up of all these I'm not good enough parts. And it drove me to succeed and be a perfectionist. And it eventually, my system couldn't take it any longer, and I went into that midlife crisis meltdown. And that's the cause of midlife crisis. It's not addressing your past. You can't just sweep the baggage under the rug and expect that your life is going to be happy and good. Because you might have all the money, status, and stuff in the world, but a lot of those people are miserable on the inside. And so all of the behaviors, bad behaviors, feelings, and thoughts that you don't like, such as shopping too much, eating too much, drinking too much, sadness, anxiety, procrastination, numbness. Anybody know people who are controlling? People who get angry? So that person that you know who always has like that angry edge, that angry edge is anger from childhood. People who are controlling and couldn't give a crap about your feelings. Those narcissistically inclined people, they're not bad. They're very wounded. They have no capacity to care about you because their exiles are seeking validation anywhere that they can get it because they have been shamed and wounded so much that they have to be in control so that no one else shames them again. And that's why they have that need to control. So any of the bad behaviors, feelings, and thoughts, those are your protectors. So on your sheet, the P stands for protectors. So these protectors, the part of you that procrastinates, eats too much, shops too much. What other bad behaviors can you guys name? Bad behaviors, feelings, thoughts, stuff you see in other people, anger, sadness.
Casino.
What was that?
Casino.
Casino, yeah. Gambling. Any other? What was that? Cleaning too much, yeah. Cleaning too much. Anything that is taken to the extreme. Because there's a part of you that used to be balanced with cleaning. That was okay with a little bit of a mess. Then you end up getting extreme about it. Because that part of you is actually afraid something bad is going to happen if you don't clean too much. Shyness. I have a lot of clients with shy parts. You were not born shy. You were born to express yourself. Think of babies. Babies are very expressive until the authority figures, teachers, and bullies and peers and siblings start to say stuff to them to squash them down. Little girls are to be heard. No, little girls are to be seen, not heard. So all of a sudden, you're like, I can't be me. I'm going to get criticized. So some people go into extreme shy behaviors because they don't feel that it is safe to be them. Because otherwise they're going to be criticized and they're not going to receive the love and attention that they needed. So they go into extreme shyness. I had one client where when his baby brother was born, when he was 18 months old, that was when his shy part really came into play. Because mom didn't pay attention to him anymore. Because a baby's very demanding. But an 18-month-old has no idea what being a mom is like. Because the brain is like a sponge. It takes everything in literally at a young age. So because mom isn't paying attention to him, he took on the belief, I must not be good enough or lovable enough. Why is mom doing this? So that shyness just kept growing and growing and growing, and in adulthood, in his 40s, that shyness is really wreaking havoc. He's a shy dictator. Stuff in his company is not working out well because of his leadership behavior. And everything is rooted in the past. So it's not because he's a jerk for being a shy dictator. Because we have to have compassion for all of these people who push our buttons. When you see people that push your buttons, you can see them through a different perspective when you understand that it's their protectors that they're showing up with. It's not the real them. So these protectors go into extreme behaviors so that you don't ever have to feel the pains of your vulnerable exiled parts. And so it's all of these parts of you, the protectors and the exiles that are on the brakes of your life. And in order for them to release the brakes of your life, you release the brakes on the bus of your life, you have to get to know your protectors so that they can give you permission to go and heal the exiles. Because in internal family systems, the therapist, the IFS therapist, is not doing the healing. You are. So this is who is doing the healing. Because inside of all of us is that highest spiritual self. You know those moments of brilliance that you have? So those moments of brilliance, how many of you have ever experienced or have had days where you're like, wow, I feel like it was just in flow and everything was just humming along and I'm in a good mood and that was the real me. How come I can't have that every single day? How many of you have had that? How many of you wishes that you could sustain that every day for the rest of your life? So that is your most compassionate, connected, creative self. And what happens is that when you experience all those big and little traumas, the self kind of gets pushed out of the system and you get overtaken by these other parts of you. Like, whoa, who was that came in at 11 p.m. at night? I just ate that half a pint of Ben & Jerry's. I hate myself. So that is essentially a part of you that took over and decided we need to eat some ice cream tonight because maybe that little girl inside of you, perhaps you were emotionally neglected, or some people who have had sexual abuse, they have to have a layer of protection on because the part of you that eats too much is doing it for you. May hate it, but that part of you that makes you eat too much is actually doing it to save you. So I'm going to give you an example of a protective part in a moment. A story of a protective part from one of the clients. So essentially, the real self of who you are, you have the power to get to know your parts, understand how they have protected you, and when these protective parts of you feel like you have heard them and feel like you have that you have appreciated them for how they have protected you for 20, 30 years, 40 years, then they will give you permission to show you the young parts of you that they have been protecting. Because what happens is when you rescue these parts of you out of the dungeon, and you hear the story of how bad it was for that little boy or that little girl when those moments of pain happened, you get to be with that little part of you in the way that he or she needed during those vulnerable moments. Because nobody was there for him. Nobody was there for her. So at those moments, you're actually rewiring the old memories into something new, where now you are there with this part, listening to his story, listening to her story. Because this part of you, the exiled part of you, gets to tell you how he or how she took on the belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. And then you as the highest spiritual self of who you are, with all that love and compassion, you have the power to rewire it and say, Johnny, it wasn't your fault. You are good enough. You know, those bullies that called you those names, they didn't know. I'm here for you. You are lovable. You are smart. You're enough. Because we have each other. I'm gonna keep you safe for the rest of your life. And that is when you get to rewire the beliefs of those young parts of you. And you get to help this part, the exiles, to release and unburden them of the I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. And that is when they will finally believe that you deserve to have a better partner, that you deserve to be promoted to the next level, that you deserve to have the body that you want, or to have the health that you want. And then, when these parts of you are rescued out of the past, and the protectors, eating too much, shopping too much, alcohol, anger, control, you name it, all those extreme behaviors will now either take on new jobs, or they could go and take a vacation, or they could relax. Instead of overachieving and working 80 hours a week, maybe they'll say, well, I only work 60. It's a compromise, so that you have time for your health. And that's how all of these parts of us that have been put on the brakes of the bus of our life can release their grip. Take on new jobs because you as the leader of your system now have heard their stories and have rescued them out of the past. Now they're loved by you. This is what self-love is all about. This is what falling madly in love with yourself is all about. Because when you fall madly in love with yourself, your energy changes. Because you release the burdens of the bottom level's energy, the dark cloud, the shame, the worthlessness, the inadequate feelings. When you release those energies that you may not even know you have, that is when your vibrations will change and you will be able to magnetize anything and everything that you want because you believe in yourself. Because you're full of self-love. Because when you're full of self-love, you have so much love to give away. You have compassion for other people. And when that compassionate energy is when other people are going to be like, oh my God, who is that person? I want to get to know her. I want to get to know him. So think about people that you may know that kind of walk around with a dark cloud. Anybody know people like that? Or you're like going to a party or a family event, and you're like, oh, Cousin Susie's going to be there? Oh, I don't want to go. Or you go to a Christmas party, and they're like, oh, I hate that Rebecca. I sit up the wall. Okay, so dark cloud, that negative energy, what do you think that, because we're all energy. We don't see this energy, but we all have this aura. This is that metaphysical woo-woo stuff. But it's real. It's real. What do you think that energy, that dark cloud, consists of? What makes up that energy? So, pardon? Fear, yeah. So all of that negative energy is consisted of your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs. So all that inner chatter and conflict and negative self-talk that's going on inside of your head that doesn't want to stop. That's what causes that can cause that black cloud. And it's all rooted in the past. It's all because the exiles that don't believe that they're worthy, all of this negative thought. Why isn't my life going right? I'm such a loser. I can't do anything right. I'm so stupid. It's all rooted in the past. Because every feeling, every thought gets emitted in your field. And if you're trying to manifest better things in your life, it's not going to happen. Because whatever you transmit out is what you're going to get back. It's just how the law of attraction works, the law of magnetism. You will not attract what you want. You will attract who you are. So if you want better opportunities in your life, if you want better relationships, if you want better health, the parts of you that have health problems are also speaking out as protectors. It's trying to give you a message. So it comes out in your voice, in the way you present yourself, in the way you interact with other people. It's all of this negative chatter or your beliefs about who you really are. And that can change, because if you want your life to change, it's very important to do the inner work. And you can do some of this inner work yourself by getting to know your protectors. The handout that I gave you has, on the second page, to identify a goal that you really, really want. And then try to figure out what are the parts of me that are holding me back. A part of me that's afraid of rejection. A part of me that is afraid of failure. That part of me that is afraid of actually being accountable. Whatever it is. And so you have to get to know the part in order for the protective part, the parts of you that are blocked, in order for the protective part for you to go into the exiles to heal them. So here's the caveat. Please do not do exile work on your own. You could do the protector work on your own. It would be very irresponsible for me to say you could do this on your own. And in fact, the founder of Internal Family Systems would shoot me. Because this is vulnerable trauma work. Some of your traumas are little, like not getting into the cool kids club versus sexual abuse. Nevertheless, they're all traumas. They're all significant emotional events. And some of them can be pretty scary. But let me tell you that this model of healing, when you go back into those old memories, it is extremely gentle. Because if you're thinking, I don't know if I want to go over there because it was so painful then, we could actually negotiate with the part, and we can ask that part of you to dial down the emotions if it starts to overwhelm you. And because it's you that's going back there, you can hold her hand, hold his hand. And this is what a therapist will guide you through. And let's, you don't want to hear the story today, but let's just hold your hand today if that's all that you want to do. And next time we'll get to know a little bit of the story. So we peel back the layer slowly, and it's extremely gentle. And the first time you experience this, you're going to say, wow, this is not like re-traumatizing you, because you're not getting re-traumatized. Or if it's so bad, we can have other options. Like we could put that little girl or that little boy in another room and look at her or him through a window. And let's get to know her. What does she want to tell you through the window? So that's how we all keep it safe. We don't go any faster than you're comfortable going. And so the exile part of the work, I would highly encourage that you find an internal family systems practitioner in this area. Some of them may even take your insurance to do the work, because this is very, very, very powerful work. Because this literally changes your self-image. You will not recognize yourself. If you do choose to go all the way, you will not recognize yourself afterwards. Because it's essentially, when you unburden the exiles of their limiting beliefs, and they now finally believe that I am lovable, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am enough, and I do deserve success. When all those parts of you believe that, you come home to your true self. Because now it's the real you that is driving the bus of your life. Because these parts have been released from the brakes. And they happen now. They are now safely in the passenger seats of the bus of your life. They are being the cheerleaders with pom-poms in hand as you try to do the scary things to move to the next level. Whether it be going up to the cutie pie at the bar, or whether it be going up to the boss and saying that you want a promotion, or networking with important people that you were afraid to network with previously. Whatever it is that you want, now these parts of you, now that they've gotten off the brakes of the bus of your life, they become part of your internal team to drive the bus of your life forward. Is this making sense to you guys? And that's what's also nice about this, is it's so intuitive. You know, it's like, oh, it makes sense. So simple, but yet so powerful. So let me give you an example. This is also what happens, you know, after yourself starts to drive the bus, you know, yourself, the moments of brilliance that you've had, you will have more and more days of showing up as your best self and not be overtaken by these parts of you that procrastinate, that eats too much, that gets addicted to shopping on the internet or video games or whatever it is, so that you do become more productive and creative and become the man or the woman that you have always dreamed of becoming. So here is, I'm going to keep this generic so as not to identify this person. So this was a person with a shy part that she wanted to get to know. And she had been in a regular job, and she wanted to launch into an entrepreneurial venture, but she was so afraid. And so we got to know her shy part. So we got to know her shy part, which when she thought about it, it was like in her throat. And the job of this shy part, which she has since a kid, the job of the shy part is to keep her from getting noticed or from being taken advantage of. Because this part is afraid that if too many people notice her, then she could get hurt, and she would end up like Mom, who was scared. She started drinking with no connections and just being really miserable. And this shy part ended up showing us a 3-month-old exile that was in the crib, in the cradle actually, in the family room. So when the protectors feel safe, they feel safe to show us, even a 3-month-old part of us. So this part of her was in this cradle while her mom was being sexually abused by the plumber. 2 doors down, in the other room. And so this part of her just shut down energetically because she had been a very intuitive baby. She could feel people's energies. So this part just decided that it was not safe to get close to people because it would know other people's secrets. So it shut the gift off to protect Mom. So the burden that this 3-month-old part took on was, the world is not safe. You have to shut off your vision. And this part also had her had bad eyesight so that she wouldn't see anything. So as a kid, she had pretty bad eyesight. Because this part believed that the world is safer if you limit your abilities to see it. Because if you express your gifts, such as her psychic part, it's not safe because you pick up bad stuff. And then so as this young part turned into a toddler, she still had like more messages, more things that she wanted to say to her highest self. And so what we did was we rescued that 3-month-old and turned into a 3-year-old and into a 5-year-old. We essentially rescued the exiles out of the past. And her shy protector wasn't quite ready to release all of its grips on her, because there were still other exiles that the shy protector was protecting. And what happened was, the next day, she says, Emily, there's this anxiety feeling in the pit of my stomach that I cannot seem to get rid of. Sometimes this is what happens. It doesn't usually happen all that often, but when you work on one part, another part is like, whoa, what the heck did we do last night? We thought we were all good with our jobs, in her internal family of parts. We kept you safe, we kept you shy. This is good. It's like the devil you know is better than the devil that you don't know. And so we stirred up the system, stirred up the pot. And so this anxiety part showed up, and she said, I have this very unsettling feeling, and this anxiety part was afraid of change. Because we're starting to change, and her system is starting to realize, oh my gosh, we have no more excuses if you do this work with Emily. This happens quite often. After the first or second session with me, they get all nervous. It's like, whoa, I can't hide behind my excuses anymore. And they're like, whoa, I can't, it's too scary to shine my light if I actually do my work. So this anxiety part showed up and said, no, we can't have you go on because life now is predictable. It's manageable and it's financially fundable. You're not going to be able to afford what you want if you go off on an entrepreneurial journey and we don't know where the finances, because the finances are not going to be predictable anymore. And so essentially, this part of her showed a 7-year-old. She got downloaded the image of a 7-year-old sitting in her bathtub. I know it sounds weird. She's like, wow, where did that 7-year-old show up? But she was sitting in the bathtub in black shoes with straps on. So just like we remember what we were wearing on 9/11, we remember what we were wearing during those moments of trauma. So this 7-year-old downloaded a couple of images. There was a very significant one of moving to a new house that was haunted. So the burden that this 7-year-old took on was change and uprooting from that home is uncomfortable and unsupported and unsafe. Change in your business direction, a new job, a new inner landscape is not safe. The unknown is unsafe. We don't want a wide open space. It's not safe because when we moved into a wide open house, it was haunted. So this part was equating entrepreneurship, her wanting to go and take the risk to up-level her life as not safe. Because it's just like the haunted house. That's why I didn't want her to do this journey with me, to unburden from the past. And so she had to go and reparent this part and say, no, it's okay, you're not 7 years old anymore, I'm 35 years old with adult resources, and I'll be fine as an entrepreneur. This is what I've accomplished already, and I'm going to be just fine. And so she reparented her, and she rewired her with a new belief that a moment might seem scary, but it's not all going to work out in the end. And she had to show evidence to her that successful people have lots and lots of failures, and that it's okay to fail. And it's not going to be like the haunted house. And so that's essentially what happens during one of the sessions of a typical internal family system session, is that you get to know a protector. You get to know a protector, and then they reveal the exile that's holding on to a belief, whatever worldview that is not helping you to move forward. And so she was able to release that, and now she continues to work with me as she gets more courage to do the scary work. Another example is health problems. I cured somebody's 20-year struggle with back pain in 4 hours, in two 2-hour sessions. because this back pain part, and she's like laying in bed on Skype with me with shooting pains down her leg. We got to know this part, and it was essentially protecting exiles. This back pain took on its job at a very young age in order to get attention from mom, because her sister got more attention. So she found that back pain was useful. And now that she's an adult, this back pain part doesn't know she's an adult who's trying to launch to the next level. Because this back pain still thinks that she is the 15 or 16-year-old that was still traumatized by all the stuff that mom did. Mom did some pretty bad stuff to her. And so we rescued all of those parts of her out. And the first 2-hour session, it's like 60% of her back pain got relieved. And then the next session, we knew there was more work to do. So there were like 4 or 5 traumatized exiles that the back pain was protecting. Because the back pain believed that if she went and did all of this work to launch her empire and her entrepreneurial journey, that if she failed, that the emotional pain of failure was going to be worse than the back pain. So back pain prevented her, kept her in bed a lot instead of doing her work to leave her legacy. Because it didn't feel like it was safe. If she went and exposed herself, then she got criticized. Then the criticism, the emotional pain and criticism this back pain felt was much more painful than the back pain. So back pain kept her safe and small. And now that her exiles are unburdened from the past, rescued to the past, her back pain went away. So a lot of times, our health problems are also trying to tell us a message. And if we hate it and don't get to know it, it's going to keep fighting back at us until something even worse happens. You know, maybe you might have to get really sick in order for it to get your attention to do the healing. Because the science of epigenetics, our thoughts and our feelings have the power to turn on our disease genes or turn it off. You know, Bernie Siegel talks a lot about that in his books, Mind, Body, Medicine. I'm working with somebody now who has been attacked by a parasite. She's supposed to be dead by now, but she's not. She's somebody in her 30s, and she found me through one of the groups that, one of the personal development groups that I'm a part of. She had heard about me, and she knows that it's her baggage from the past, unresolved baggage, that is causing all this illness. Because every time she had huge opportunities with people, including Richard Branson, right before she was supposed to work with Richard Branson for a year, she got this parasite. And she gave me some examples of other big opportunities that she had. She was sick with other problems. And so she said, and so it's her exiles that are saying, it is not safe to be big. So it keeps her small. So I can't wait to work with her and get her, it's essentially we're trying to get her soul back into her body so that she can heal herself. And so there's numerous other stories that I have of people who have launched into their greatness and manifested millions of dollars in business. There's one gentleman that I work with. Nothing was happening until we had to do 20 hours worth of work together so that he finally believed in himself and launched to the next level. And for a whole year, he went and manifested $10 million worth of business, and now we're doing tune-up work because now he's trying to get to even a bigger level, and new layers keep coming up. So that's what happens. If you do participate in this internal family system, the IFS modality of healing, it's going to help you to get out of your own way and to do all the scary things that you need to do to unleash to the next level. And then when you do manifest some things, what's going to happen is that when you try to get even to a bigger level, new stuff will come up. So it's not like you have to be in this forever, but But if you participate in the first initial, however long it's going to take you, you're going to get the courage to get to the next level, and then if you want to keep going beyond it, you just have to keep working on yourself, because your personal life and your career will only grow to the extent that you invest in yourself. So what I would love to do now is to invite a few questions before I conclude. So what questions do you have for me?
So what's the difference in terms of the work you do with people compared to an IFS therapist?
All right, so her question was, what's the difference of the work that I do versus an IFS psychotherapist in the local area? I work with only a specific bucket of people. I work with overachieving game changers who are ready to quantum leap to the next level. So these are people who are already doing a lot of stuff, and they want to do even bigger things, but they know that they have blocks that are holding them back. So that's the specific bucket of people that I work with. That's what I choose to work with. Yes, Audrey?
I have an interesting question. Tiger Woods, he's stuck. What would you tell him?
I'm just in the middle of writing a blog post about Tiger Woods. It's funny because my publisher is, he publishes a lot of tennis and golf books because he's an athlete. And so he's getting into this self-help space. And so he says, you got to write a thing about Tiger Woods. I said, okay, I got to write it in a gentle way so I don't get sued. And so basically, I wanted to write a blog post that was like, Tiger Woods, weapon of mass destruction is behind the zipper. But I'm going to refrain from doing that. I know, just my quirky side that likes to write that kind of blog post. But I'm going to refrain. I'm going to title it something like, Can Tiger Woods' Stripes Ever Change? Yes, it can. Because addicted to affairs is no different than being addicted to shopping, addicted to alcohol, gambling, working. I'm sure that he has a lot of shame underneath there, being biracial. I know how difficult it was for me to be Asian. Now he's Asian and black. And I could just imagine the names that he was called at school. And I could just imagine how he could have been rejected by the pretty girls. Right? I mean, he's got full lips, and I'm sure those lips had a few names called. I was trying to Google and find all that stuff out, and I couldn't find the details of what happened to him in his childhood. And when you're a super athlete like that, and you've been coached all along since 3 years old, you know how coaches are like, no, this is not good enough, more. You do that to a kid, it is extremely damaging, because they're basically taking on the belief, am I not good enough the way that I am? So he's got a lot of, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. Exiles stuck in the past. And so we have this huge need. Our number one need is for validation that we're good enough. He's got money, status, and stuff already. Okay? So that's not good enough. So now his exiles are craving redemption. And they're seeking it through women. And his protector of being addicted to affairs does not know, but doesn't care about the consequences of the bad PR or losing millions of dollars in endorsements. Because the protector is like, we just want to be validated because he is just feeling so lonely on the inside. It's his little boys on the inside that are making him do this. And so this behavior can stop if he rescues those parts of him out of the past through internal family systems. Does that help to answer?
Thank you.
Yeah. So anybody that you know who's a cheater, please have compassion for them. Anybody who you think is a loser, bad behavior, narcissistic, bad bosses, just have compassion for them. It's their little boys or little girls that are driving them to be controlling and unempathetic towards you. They don't know how. They have no idea because they're not madly in love with themselves. They hate themselves on the inside. That's why they have to do it to you. One more question before I... Yes?
I'm kind of thinking about my older brother, who's very much an overachiever. And I'm sort of thinking it by this model as that being a protector, overachievement. I'm the opposite. I'm an underachiever. I've not fulfilled my potential. I do things with pride, I do creative work and art and write songs and stuff. And I excel there, but I've been such an underachiever. Are those kind of two sides of the same coin? They
Yes.
operate the same way?
Yes. So this question was overachiever, underachiever, they're two sides of the same coin. Yes, they are. Overachieve. You know, some of the most successful people are the most broken. Some of the biggest and most successful companies have been built because of demons. Think of Steve Jobs. So we have to thank, even when we get to know overachiever protector part, it's not, we're trying to get rid of them. I love my overachieving part. But if the overachieving part is at the expense of my emotional health or my relationships or my physical health, and because I don't take time for myself, that's when you have to talk to the overachiever part. It's like, you know, do you know I have my thyroid problems or cancer because you're making me overachieve and not taking time for myself? They may not know that. That part may not know that. And so it's a negotiation of, you know, can we dial down a little overachievement part so that we can take care of our health. So underachievement is a part. It's not the real you. The real you is not an underachiever. I know that the real you can be whatever it is that you imagine yourself to be. But it's your belief system, because you believe you're an underachiever. What do you think you're going to get? So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so in order to overcome that, are you happy with what you have achieved?
I've made a lot of progress, to be fair to myself.
Excellent.
But no, I think I can do a whole lot more.
So the process of getting to know that, if you get to know underachiever part and how it's protected you, what is it afraid, some of the questions on the handout, what is it afraid of if it doesn't do its job of holding you back? What is it afraid of? What is this part afraid of? You ask. That's why you need to separate it out from the part, and it's like, okay, it's got to be out here. And you invite it to talk. When it feels like you're connected to it, and you're befriending it. My book actually goes into more details about that process, because it's much more detailed than what I'm sharing with you now, because you have to feel compassion and connection towards it. Because if you hate it, or you're angry at that part's not going to talk to you. Just like if I'm angry at you think you're going to talk to me? No. And so you have to get to know what is it afraid of, what does it need in order to let go of its job or change its job? Does it know that you're 35 years old, or however old you are? It may still think that you're a 5-year-old. Because it took on that job at a certain point in your life. So does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for saying I'm 35.
Oh. And it could also be a way of also getting attention from mom and dad because if he's the overachiever, he's getting all that attention. So you got to do something different in order to get mom and dad.
I'm not an attention junkie.
Okay, whatever. I'm just giving you, some of the possibilities based on what I've seen. Yeah. Oh, one more. I'll take one more, and then I'll. Okay. Well, so hopefully now you see clearly. If you feel like there are parts of you that are holding you back from accelerating and pushing full throttle on the bus of your life to somewhere really awesome, to better health, better career, better relationships, or just more joy, more happiness, you can see that it's the parts of you that are stuck in the past that are creating the blocks and preventing you from shining the light of the 1,000-watt light bulb of who you really are. Because if you want to, you can change into the most magnificent version of you that the universe has created. Because there is only one you. And the world is waiting for you to unleash all of your brilliance. Because you are all gifted to be leaving your lasting legacy in some way. Whether it be to be the best grandma, or to be the best mother, or to be the best leader, the best parent. Or if you want to do something really big and leave your lasting legacy as far as building a new company. Whatever that is for you, only you know what's best for you. And so if you want to have all of that in your life, I encourage you to do the work, to get to know your inner landscape. And getting to know your protectors is a great first step. And then if you, even getting to know your protectors, and even reading my book, people have written me emails and saying, wow, just the awareness that I got that I'm not a loser after all has shifted how I felt about myself. So that can be a huge step. And then if you choose to do the work, to continue to get to know more of who you are, then I would invite you to seek the guidance of an internal family systems therapist to help you to get to the next level, because you can get unstuck and get unleashed and become unstoppable. Thank you.